Are we not taping?
You are now. You okay?
Okay.
Did you take notes? I was trying to be here for 5, but I...
Oh, it said stop record when I left it.
Oh.
And then it went off?
Yeah, maybe sometimes it's been glitchy. That's why I was trying to be here, but I got caught on the bike path that's not plowed and I was slipping all over the place.
Oh, Jamie.
Yeah, no, it says,
Yeah, why don't you guys keep going and I'm just going to watch the counter for a little bit, make sure
Okay.
it keeps working.
because we have, several times lost the first 15 minutes of meetings. And
Yeah.
knowing that we had set it and couldn't figure out why.
And tomorrow this recording device is getting replaced, so
Oh,
Oh.
I suffer through one more day.
That's all right.
Okay.
There are worse
Will be
things.
the last meeting in it then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the note of the scheduling for next steps, what was up next were the elected officers and agencies. General vacancies, moderator, town clerk, school committee, water, wastewater, library trustees, and housing authority.
Who has the duty on those? Because I don't have a
I do. I got
the
it, they're list. done.
Hall is general, vacancies is hall, moderator is hall. Town clerk, Ms. Doucette.
Actually, we have almost all of Anita's.
Yep, I do, well,
Yeah.
but she's
back.
given them in, but we haven't discussed them.
No, I know.
vacancies.
School committee, Donahue, wastewater, Donahue, library trustees, I have Doucette,
Right.
housing authority, Doucette. So who will be ready for next week to have a first pass discussion?
Next week?
Next month, excuse me. Next week, next month,
That's slowing
whatever.
the pace down.
Yeah, we're slowing the pace down.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
The school committee is gonna, take me a little time. I have somebody I wanna meet with, look it over. But I just wanna say about water wastewater, I will certainly look it over. But I, as a commissioner, I can't allow the topic of that in our existing charter to become a political football,
It's
which it
not-
very easily could. So what I mean is, people have different, I really don't want to get into it all here, but people have different views about whether it's a department, who runs the department. There's many, many discussions going on that we are not going to cover here. So if wording in charter issues causes any of those issues to get influenced, I will back out of the
Okay.
conversation.
We
You know
got
what
it.
I'm saying?
We
You know,
got it.
I mean, I'm happy to make a stab at it, but that entire section has to be written from ground up. And it involves agreement by the selectmen, agreement by
Select board.
everybody, the select board, by
All,
everybody.
all of these changes we're selecting have to go through the select board, have to go through town meeting. So that's a given. All we're doing is saying we're reviewing a section.
Yeah.
Is there stuff that should be rewritten? Is there stuff that should be considered? There is a general understanding that if there are questions, you go to that committee, that department, town agency, et cetera. But we're saying, we think this is a good idea. Then it goes to the select board, it goes to town meeting, it goes to a ballot. We're not the final end. We're
I
making a
understand that.
suggestion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's our chart.
But we also, I think, have been mindful that stuff that is going to get political, we're not going to make it political.
Right.
Somebody else can make it political.
That's
We're
right.
going to make a decent job of it.
Yes, okay.
So is anybody ready for next week?
Give me the
Next
third on my
time?
list. I got moderator, I got vacancies, and what else?
Moderator, general, there was a general section.
General vacancies and moderators.
Yeah, I
One,
can't
two,
promise to
three.
be ready for the
Okay.
next one, but
Well, is there something that could be?
Let's see.
Well, I guess I could, mine's pretty
That's right,
straightforward.
she's turned hers in.
All
Yeah,
right,
I've already turned mine in, so
All
it
right,
could be pretty
so-
much straightforward.
we're going to put Doucette. And she's going to be, it's section 6. And that's, who is that? Waste 4, 7, and 8.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And we don't have to do all of them at the same time. Cool.
Okay.
Great. Moving
Good.
right along. We're joined by Jeff Handler.
You started early.
Yes, it says 10 to 3. We started early, open meeting law violation, you got it. Okay, under new business, this is the meat of today, which is the select board at a meeting, their duly authorized called meeting, on January 2nd, 2024, the board, by vote, asked the Bylaw Charter Review Committee to develop language that supports a human resource director reporting to the select board. So they have asked us to look at that language. I sent out some notes. Did everybody get them?
Yeah.
Sure. You need a set?
No, no, sir.
Yeah, I'll take a set, Linda.
Mine
Oh,
is
yeah,
only
yeah,
one.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So they have asked us to do this. I'm glad you're here, Jeff, because one of the questions I have is, why that one job, and I don't need a dissertation on why that one job, why that one job, which we don't even have at this point, may or may not be in a budget, but we don't even have that job, why not other jobs? Changing the charter is a big deal, you know, town meeting, next year it's a ballot. So is the select board looking just to poke at one position, which again, we don't have yet, or would they like to have a more general access to department heads? Please. Oh, here, and take this.
Thank you. I got it.
Don't worry.
Third time today.
This'll cover it. Yeah. Treatment.
Thank you.
So thank you for the question, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee for everything you've all done. I think, as I stated at the meeting you were at, fantastic job doing all the work you've done so far. And I believe that is part and parcel as to why, at least I would like this committee to take a good hard look at this one potential position. And you and I have discussed this, Madam Chair, a little bit. And I do want to make a quick correction. It is not for the potential incoming human resource director to answer or report directly to the select board. It's to report to both the select
Yes.
board and the town administrator. And I believe earlier tonight you said report to the select board. And that is not the intention of why I'm here or what the select board wanted from the bylaw charter committee to begin thinking about.
And I do have that in my little write-up
Great.
that I passed out to the committee, that you're asking us to craft language for charter change, proposed human resource director, report to both town administrator and select board.
Sure.
So
To your question of why,
I'm asking a more general question, which
Okay,
is,
yeah.
is there other information that the select board or other departments that the select board would like to be able to directly access that department head without having the department head report to them? This one is a reporting relationship, but would you like to be able to call in the head of DPW, the police chief, without having to go through the town administrator? And that's kind of the question. Is this a global thought, or is this a one-trick
One-off.
pony thought? Yes, it's a one-off.
yeah, sure. And thank you for the question. And I believe when we first spoke about this, the indication that I had gotten at our meeting was that this was a one-off.
Okay?
I haven't received any other information from the board to give you any other information other than it's a one-off at this point. But you and I had a great conversation, and you raised the question of, why only this one? And maybe we should take a look at having more department heads be able to report to both, beyond what the charter allows the select board to get involved in, which is information and investigation. So the answer in short is it's a one-off.
Okay. All right, then we can proceed. A second question is, the select board has the powers of appointing very specific positions. Town council, finance director, the police and fire chief, the assessors. Do you want to be appointing this person or not?
So that'd be a question I would have to take back to the other select
Okay.
board members and ask that question.
Okay.
I'm one of 4 at the moment, so I don't have an answer for you for that question right
Because I
now.
think that drives what we can talk about tonight, and I think we can probably go in 2 directions. One is craft some language that is a general change, and craft some language that is a specific reporting responsibilities, splitting something. And I'm not sure where that goes in it'll probably go under the select board powers of appointment and prohibitions, et cetera, somewhere in there. So I think we can do both and be prepared for both.
For me, if I may, Madam Chair, I think, speaking for myself only, I think there's a perfectly good reason in my mind why 5 minds at this table got brought into this conversation. You've already raised 2 great questions that I'm going to take back to the select board and see what they think. And then I can get back to you with what the pleasure of the board is. But I see no reason for the select board to try to have to come up with all these answers and generate all these great questions on their own. I think this is a perfect collaborative effort to work on something that's really never been done before.
Okay, all right, then
That's my position on it.
we will take a crack at it, and because the warrant language is supposed to be done by, well, it was supposed to be done by last Friday, but that's beside the point.
Thank you.
Because you're going to be voting the warrant in a week.
That's correct.
You have placeholders,
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
so it isn't necessary to get this done by
Placeholders.
next week.
That's correct.
There is a placeholder called charter and bylaw possible changes.
That's correct. And I have requested to have you all back for next week, because the runway is getting short for us to even have the conversation, to be able to bring all the good work that you've already done back to the table for discussion so that we can get more clarity on it and see how it all shakes out. So just to let you all know, I've requested that for next week.
Is that a joint meeting?
At this point, I've requested that we bring the conversation back to the table. It'll be up to the chair if she wants that to be a joint meeting or not.
Because I would need to know that.
I will let you know that hopefully
Otherwise,
tonight.
Otherwise, I can't post a meeting, and then we'll all be dancing.
100%. And I hope to get you that answer tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
On that note, so I was going to ask you anyway, Jeff, would we anticipating getting some kind of guidance in terms of next steps on the portion of the charter that we presented to you in a report? Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly right.
Right. And so from another meeting then, would decisions might be made about whether some pieces should go for May or not, or maybe never, or, you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know exactly what you're trying to say, and that would be my hope, is that we would gain more clarity on how to move forward with
Yeah.
everything, nothing,
Right.
or some of what has already been discussed.
And also that issue that keeps coming up about fog, that
Yes.
we might know better what's going on, and I hear another selectman talk about, is it Sandwich that has some system?
Yes.
Right.
Sandwich is doing an overhaul. I know I'm looking into how they're doing it and trying to
Right.
get myself educated as fast as possible as to how
Yeah.
they're going about it. As for fog, I know that there has been contact between the chair and the fog representative. I do not know, but I'll know tonight of where that sits.
For the public, fog means
Form of
form of
government.
government, just so that everybody knows what we're talking
Absolutely.
about.
No acronyms.
Okay. All right, well, regardless of what fog thinks, the town has to do what it thinks is right,
I agree with you, Madam Chair.
not to get caught up in all of that.
Lost in the fog?
Yes,
Well,
lost in the fog.
I almost said it. Glad you beat me to it. That's nice. We have an audience.
gallery.
I think you're absolutely right. We need to move forward, and I look at FOG as an adjunct to this, not someone who, or
They should
somebody
be-
who's going to come in and just take over and do everything the way they want to do it. I think
that's correct.
this body and our body is perfectly capable of getting the ball really rolling downhill.
I mean, I see that if we get a consultant in here, we tell the consultant, we'd like it to say something like this, and the consultant writes it, and we then vet it, so that there is a person who is writing something in a consistent language. Each section will look consistent in verbiage, but we should be saying, we would like this, put it on a piece of paper, and then we futz with the words.
Well, what we would like, or what are the alternatives?
Or
Is
what
there-
are the
Is there
alternatives?
a better way?
There's
to be
another one,
doing-
is there a
Yep.
better way? We do it this way. Is there a better way? What are the alternatives?
Yeah.
So,
Well, if I may, I will add, the consultant for the local planning committee did just that. Came into the committee and said, tell me what you want this to look like, tell me how you want this to feel and sound, and work their way in seamlessly with the committee's work and input. And I think that's exactly how I would hope and pray that this all moves forward.
it would be nice. Okay, I think you have an executive committee meeting you have to get to.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank
Let me
you.
know if I
Thanks
can
for
do
coming.
anything else for all of you.
But you will be
No, you
way
answered
early.
everything.
Hi. My middle name's early. You get there at 2:50, wait for everybody to show.
Which hasn't moved now in an
No,
hour.
it hasn't. I'm standing still in this room.
Standing still in this room,
God
yes.
forbid we fix the, put in a battery.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, so it sounds like,
We wait.
I'm not sure we wait. I think we write two things,
No,
and then see
I
what they
agree.
want.
No, true.
And then it's, okay, we got two sets of words, what do you want? I had sent out this little thing, just putting my ideas out. I quite frankly don't understand why we want one position to report to both, but I'll let it pass, because I don't understand why,
You know,
but I'm gonna let it pass.
in discussions, it was because, I mean, they very openly said, what if the human relations problem is the town administrator? I mean, that's what they said in public, that's what the select board said, then we should have a way for them to come to us directly.
And that is exactly the crux of the whole
Yeah,
Right.
it is the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then again, in any organization, regardless of the charter, I know, you just had a heart attack over that, but regardless of the charter,
attack over anything.
if you have a complaint against your complaint is to your boss, and you don't feel you can talk to your boss, then you do go over somebody's head. So why we have to
It
make
should
a
be a
charter
written
change to do
procedure.
that?
Because-
It's a procedure, not a charter change.
Right.
Right.
Because
And
if you
have to
don't-
make a charter change, because in the charter, it says specifically, you can't do that. They can't,
But then I would prefer having in the charter, anybody who has a problem with their boss, this is what they do. They do this, this, and this, and if they can't go to their boss, they go directly to the select board.
I'm not agreeing with you, because the only people whose direct boss, the town administrator was mentioned, would be the really direct reports, you know, like Megan and
Yeah.
the department heads, you know. So they would be the ones going to the human resource director, and she would go on their behalf to the select board. But it wouldn't be the lower down level.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the lower down levels, I'm talking about department heads. So, but it just seems like this is more procedural.
Yes. What if an employee has an issue? How do you handle that?
Right.
Maureen, if an employee has an issue, say, I don't know, sexual
Yeah.
harassment.
They go to their
whatever.
department head.
And what if the
What
department
if
heads,
they're not comfortable going to the
Then
department?
they would go to the town administrator.
and what if they don't feel comfortable going to the town administrator?
That's why
Well,
you
at
need
some
HR.
point, you have to
Right.
accept what you have, you know, you can't have a chain of 10 where you say, well, I don't like that person, you know.
Not that it has to be a chain, it should be like go directly to HR.
You
If
know
you're
what-
not comfortable with your director, if you're not comfortable with the town administrator, you should be able to go to the HR department.
Right.
And I don't see why you can't, anyway. You know, I think we're talking about two different things that the select board has not been clear on. We're talking about people when they have very serious problems.
Correct.
That's a very different situation from talking about topics that the human resource person might have, like morale in general.
Right.
Deadlines in general, accountability in general, new hires in the area, salary raises. So it's like we're trying to conflate these two very different things. And the piece I believe that they want them to be able to go to is the police for serious problems.
I'm not sure it's for serious problems, because a direct reporting to both means little problems, big problems, status, projects, it's anything. That's a reporting relationship.
They haven't been clear. I'm just
Can
going on.
Can I slide something in here, because just listen to this. The problem is the town administrator will likely be the one who's going to hire the human resources director.
That's why I asked that
And
question.
in the normal order of things, the human resources director would be a direct report to the town administrator. But if Susan, tax collector, has gone to HR and hasn't gotten anywhere, and gone to the town administrator and hasn't gotten anywhere, I think what you maybe need to build into the process is a pecking order of recourse for that employee. This is what you do. If that doesn't solve it, then you can go to this level, then you can go to this level, and if all else fails, you can go directly to the Board of Selectmen. I think there has to be an avenue for an employee not to be short-stopped along the way if they're not getting the redress that they feel that they should have. And if the wall becomes the town administrator between the rest of the world and the employees, which seems to be at least currently the case, and you have no right given to you or allowed, so that you can jump over all that and file your complaint with the Board of Selectmen when you've gone through all the other potential avenues. And maybe that's what we need to build into the charter, is that.
I'm going to ask something different.
Yep.
Is this a charter issue, or is this an employee manual issue? Because usually, companies have an employee manual, and it says, we have union contracts, but, no smoking on town property. Those are the employee manual things. You have to look to your union contract to see what your benefits are, blah, blah, blah. If you are the if you feel like you're being sexually harassed in general, just harassed or made uncomfortable, this is what you do. And generally, so do we have an employee manual in town?
Who writes
that
the
would-
manual?
Linda used to write a lot of them.
I've written tons of them.
Right, but who decides what's in it?
I'm not going in that direction. I think that there are things that go into a standard employee.
Manual.
It should be the
Right.
attorney.
Can I make another?
Attorney usually writes those manuals.
But
It's a
it has-
legal document.
But it has to be adopted. What I'm
Yes.
getting at is who drives that, who controls what's in the manual? The attorney doesn't control what's in anything.
No,
They
and that
just
would be
write
the HR director. In
Assuming-
private world, in the private corporate world. It's the
We
HR.
aren't- we
But it
aren't the-
also
we
then
aren't the
goes
private-
through, the rest of the
Well,
everybody votes on it, et cetera, et cetera. So
Exactly.
there would be
Executives,
I don't think
yes.
it'd be any different than, what's a standard employee manual look like? Somebody can do this. Okay, we don't have this right here, and we'd like to have this in there. I would say it's the town administrator with the Select Board would be driving those kind of conversations
Right now.
right now.
You're right. Then you throw in the HR person.
So we don't have an employee manual here,
I've never seen one.
or any statement that goes out to all employees.
Well,
If you are feeling,
there are contracts with the Town Employees Association.
I
do
was
they have?
thinking unions.
I don't think I've seen sexual harassment in those.
No, that's a procedure. It's not, I have a contract with Cape Cod Community College. None of that is in there.
No,
It
that's
just
the,
goes over the benefits and your salaries and the steps, you know, when you get raises and, yeah, it's a separate document.
because usually, even if you don't have an employee manual, you tell people if you're feeling, if you feel like you're being harassed and your workplace environment is not good, then call this person, call this. A lot of places have you call someplace that isn't even associated with the business.
Right, okay, business, it's just clicked. If you're in a union, you have a union rep.
Right.
Well,
gotta
that's what
use
I'm
that.
That's where I was
That's what I'm
going.
saying. There is a contract
Right.
with the employees, whether it's the fire department, whether it's the town hall. They
Right,
have their
right.
Harwich Town Hall Association. They have those things embodied in a written document. I know that because they
It's
go
the
to it
HEA,
when
right.
there's HEA, Harwich Employees Association, because that's the sheet of music they work off of when there's some kind of conflict or grievance.
So maybe what we're really talking about is the personnel bylaw people who don't have a contract, who are in a personnel bylaw. They don't have
Well,
any
those are
manuals
mostly
or
department
anything.
heads.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
I'm talking about the
That was
employee
quick.
employees.
We're
Well,
not
they're
there
all
yet.
employees. All people are, if you get a paycheck from the town of Harwich, you're
No,
an
but
employee.
we're talking about the lower rung employee who's got a grievance,
Right,
who takes it to their department head. And, you know, nothing happens, nothing gets resolved. So they go further than that to their HR person. Nothing happens, nothing gets resolved. They go from there to the town administrator. Nothing happens, nothing gets resolved. And don't tell me this can't happen, because I know it does already.
does.
And then what would
So
happen?
what is it you want to do? You want to at least let them, give them the road to go straight to the Board of Selectmen if they have to. I'm not as concerned about who the HR person reports to. I would
Right.
be more concerned about how far an employee can take something to
What
get
do
a
you-
redress
some
of
info?
their...
I do,
Over us?
excuse me. Fogg will be attending our meeting next Monday night.
who will?
Uh,
Fogg.
Fogg. So there will be no joint meeting at that point in time. But after that information that hopefully we'll all get, the joint
Okay.
meeting hopefully will occur the following Monday.
And why is freedom, form of government is with the AMA?
Yes.
MMA, sorry.
MMA,
MMA.
The
Months
MMA?
ago.
Municipal
Okay. Thank
Manager.
you.
It's the Municipal Managers Association.
Yes,
So what would happen, getting back to your point?
which I'm not
Is
real
if-
wild about,
No, not at all.
because that's going to get driven by the town administrator
Exactly.
as opposed to being driven by the town, but okay, fine.
Exactly.
So if someone gets to the point where they get to the town administrator,
Yeah.
and the town administrator, to my memory,
Yep.
what they do is then take it to the union.
Well, you need to separate
Right.
union and non-union. Because you're
Right.
right, regardless of what everything is, if a union employee has a problem, they go to their rep, the union rep, and it goes from there, and there's a whole process
that's
that is
true.
outlined,
Right.
that there's meetings, there's this,
Yes,
there's,
that's true enough.
there's a whole, so what we're really talking about are the department heads that are in the personnel bylaw. They don't have a union rep. They're not a union.
True.
So they have nowhere to go, really.
Other than the town administrator.
Okay,
Okay,
before you faint.
I want to make a clarification, but I don't agree with separating the bylaw people because having been one my whole life, and probably Anita too, but I'm not sure what your all right, you're elected official.
She was
that's right.
elected.
But I mean, if you're in a union, you don't have to go the grievance route. There should be the same route available for both people, number one. On the other side, I can't imagine somebody would list rights to bylaw people. They never did with me as an exempt employee. You know, that was just,
They would what?
they wouldn't list rights or things like that for exempt employees, for bylaw employees, whatever you want to call them. But my bigger clarification, what I wanted to say earlier is, we're talking about people going, where would they go with a complaint, right? And I just want to clarify that situation as opposed to the human resource director who is reporting to and getting information from the select board. And I believe that's our role, is to write that, which doesn't necessarily mean that you solve every wrinkle of the other train. I mean, if somebody's got a major problem, they're gonna go the first couple of routes. If that doesn't solve it, they may drop it, or they may go to an attorney. I personally don't think it's right to have more than 3 or 4 routes, because people will just keep, at some point, the select board will say, well, we're gonna respect the opinion of our department heads who turned you down along with so-and-so, and along with so-and-so, and along with so-and-so, and along with so-and-so. So I wouldn't give a long, list, because people will go to their attorneys. But I think we should focus not on solving that problem, but on solving the reporting I mean, that's what I think we were asked to
Well,
do.
yes, and I think a lot of this is, how does somebody get, if somebody has an issue, where do they go? And we don't have a particular, and I'm separating the union people from the bylaw people, because the union people have a clearly defined path if there's a problem. That there's a letter that gets, because I've gone through some of this in town. There is, a formal letter that gets written, you have so many days to respond, and it's all laid out in the contracts. So the human resource person will be dealing with the issues, if we get one, that come up through that process. But there's already an established process, and I am just separating the bylaw people because they don't have a union.
I understand.
So there is no process for them at this point.
Right.
But I think that whatever the process is or may be, we've been asked to write some language to have this human resource director position, which doesn't exist, report to both the select board and the town administrator, that it's a dual reporting responsibility. And that's what we've been asked to do. So maybe that's what we should focus on.
Just a simple.
Just
That's
keep
what
it
I
simple,
think.
that's what we've been asked to do, and I appreciate that they asked us.
I think I'd like to see some language from other HR departments from different towns.
I'm not so
Just-
sure we have time at this point. I mean, this was voted on the 2nd. It would have been nice to have had this, so we could have had that discussion in January. Then we could have looked at other towns, and we'd be sitting here now in February with other ideas, et cetera. We don't have time for that, Anita, unless we want to make meetings over the next couple of weeks.
No, we don't.
So, because our next meeting will be the middle of March,
Right.
thereabouts, and that's dangerously close to signing, I mean,
The warrant.
it starts getting into real timing issues.
Right.
So we're sort of up against it, and I think that's a valid thing to say, Anita, how do other people word this? Because it's gonna have to go through the attorney anyways.
Right.
So if we don't word it properly, they'll stick 2 words in there somehow.
Well, the fact of the matter is that a lot of this is not thought through enough even to be ripe for this town meeting
Right.
at all.
That's true.
That's
And
true.
since they're already contemplating the possibility of a fall town meeting, they probably should give some serious thought to putting this particular conversation off until then.
That's an excellent idea.
That could be a recommendation of ours, but yet we still have been asked to write some language.
Can
So
I-
how about we write some language?
Can I give you an example of 2 reporting places from our charter?
Sure.
So this is the closest that we've come to it. This is under water and wastewater. Water and wastewater.
Where?
I'm not sure what chapter it is. I can't believe I've forgotten. Hang on. It's page C13, if that does anything.
Oh, yeah, that does, okay. C13, water, wastewater.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Hang on, at the bottom, it says that the commission will appoint one, but the pertinent line is 664. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this section to the contrary, the Board of Selectmen shall be responsible for the design and construction. Oh, no, that's not where
It
it is.
doesn't do it.
No, but there's one where it says, it must be in the bylaw then. It must be in the bylaw, which I don't have with me.
Bylaw what?
The bylaw for wastewater.
Oh, the bylaws for wastewater.
Right.
Okay,
And what it says, though, at any rate, is it says that the wastewater superintendent will answer to the water wastewater commission. However, there will be a dotted line to the town administrator, and they will work collaboratively.
right, and the charter, page C13, 663,
Here it is.
Water and Wastewater Commission
Right.
shall appoint a
Yeah.
water and wastewater superintendent who shall work cooperatively.
Actively with the
Yeah.
town.
But that's not a reporting relationship.
No, that's, I was just showing you that's as close as we've ever come.
Yeah,
in,
because I couldn't find anything here
And
on
that's
split reporting.
Can I give you comments on what you sent out?
No, because at this point, we're still, what is it we're doing? And I think what I sent out were things like making it a more global
Okay.
change. But I think that we're back to just
Right.
a single reporting relationship, and I would still like the answer to, do they think they should be hiring the human resource director? Because the finance director gets appointed by the select board, but reports directly to the town administrator. So that's not the reporting relationship.
Does that say that under finance director in the charter? I couldn't.
Current Charter 3, Select Board of Selectmen, Section 6, Powers of Appointment.
No, not that one, no.
Well, under the police,
Under
it
the
says,
finance director, does it say it? Is
No,
it-
does not.
Okay, interesting.
What there is, the town administration has a division of finance.
right,
The
Right.
administrative functions of assessment, tax fee collection, blah, 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 shall be
See,
carried
it
out
doesn't
within a
say
division of
anything about the
finance.
police.
It doesn't say who reports to
to
anybody.
the police, well, the police
Okay.
department.
It also doesn't say that under general. This
Or-
whole administrative organization is about how we're organized in terms of departments. It doesn't really talk about, because I've read through this 3 times, it doesn't really say who reports to whom.
Right. That's correct.
So it's not in there either.
Right.
Okay. So, given that it's not in other places, we actually could add a human resources director to 361 and just have it be another letter on the list of who they appoint,
Then-
if they appoint.
And that's a simple change.
Right.
But how do we craft the words,
No,
and
no,
where
no,
should
I
it go for will report
Right.
to both entities?
But that would be part of it.
So that was my question. If you want split reporting, maybe they should be the hiring entity. But I think we can just, when we make our recommendation to them, here's a recommendation. You appoint, but, so where would we put, okay, regardless of the wording, where would we put the joint reporting? Because there is no human resource job in the charter. It's not in the finance section, it's not in town administrator.
I would put it, as you suggested, of your 3 suggestions, my choice was the middle 371. But of course, with a change where it says, followed with the exception, you had with the exception of the positions that are appointed above, I would have had with the exception of the human resource director.
Where are you, Nori?
Okay, on this
371?
page, the
371.
middle.
Oh, the mid- okay, add to the-
Prohibitions are except for the purpose of investigation. It's not information, it's investigation. Authorized by this charter. Thus deal with the town officers and employees, subject to the direction and supervision of the TA, solely through the TA, and neither the board nor its members shall give orders to these officers or employees, either publicly or privately.
It's getting involved in the day-to-day operations.
Because that's getting involved in the daily operations.
Correct.
Should you have on 371, after either publicly or privately, with the exception of the HR director, that is with the exception of the HR director, who will report
I
to-
can't find public, oh, yeah.
to both the, it's in the middle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who will report to both Select Board, and TA.
I
You're
think
putting that in
sounds fine.
371?
37
I'm
down
not
at the
that- yeah.
bottom, right at
371.
the end.
Yeah, at the
Sandy,
very end.
just add,
I
with the
didn't see it, but
exception,
not-
right.
There's possibilities, 361, 371, change 371. So under add to 371, after orders to officers or employees, either publicly or privately, with the exception of the HR director.
I don't quite
Who
see
will
how
report-
how that even goes in there.
Well, here it is over here,
I see it.
right?
We're trying to find a place to put
Place to
it.
put it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And I don't know where to put it.
I don't. Well, here's the thing,
Yep,
just as a practical matter. We are sitting here, you know, right on the edge of all of these deadlines,
yes.
trying to craft something, to jam something into a charter that is not going to be a functional part of the charter if it passes all the hurdles it has to pass for almost 2 years.
Yes, I understand that this
So
is almost
what's-
irrelevant.
So what's the point?
Right. I love the idea about making a recommendation that it go for the fall. Actually, I think that's a great idea for the entire report we did. Maybe not all, I mean,
Well, I
if they
think
want to
that-
either out a section, that's fine, but.
Given that they have made no decisions about what portions of the charter they want to
Right.
talk about, either from our report or others, and the fact that no matter what they do, it's going to be the same cycle. There'll be nothing lost time-wise by waiting till the fall to address these changes, because it'll still come up at the next May town election.
That's right.
So, I mean, whatever the group wants to do is fine with me, but it just seems to me the better answer would be that this is almost untenable to try to do this, given the deadlines involved, and as a practical matter, could wait for a fall town meeting, since it's going to be the complete cycle before these get reviewed and approved by the voters anyway.
Right.
And that's assuming we get the HR director at all.
We
Okay.
talked about having 2 meetings per year. Is one dedicated to just the finance portion?
Well,
Up the
it's
town.
kind of been wiggled, we give wiggle room. Primarily finance
Yeah.
and other things.
Okay,
Primarily zoning, blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
And other
okay.
things.
Neither exclusive of the
okay, oh,
other.
fine, okay.
Well, to cut to the chase, so our recommendation, one of them will be, due to the short-term nature of doing this and blah, 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 go to the fall town meeting, because you still have to go to the ballot
In May,
in
anyway.
May 2025. So a fall town meeting doesn't lose you anything.
So if we do get a finance director voted through in May,
You mean
Human
the
resources.
human resources, I'm sorry, human,
It will still be reporting to the town administrator, period, for a year.
yeah.
So,
So what's the rush?
okay,
Right.
I'm not sure how you'd like to frame that in a letter, but.
I'll think about it. But I think we still should take a shot at where we would put it. And say, we are going to suggest this wording go in this section. I think we should still tell them, otherwise they're gonna
They
make
asked us to
themselves
do
up.
it.
They've asked us to do it, so we should do it.
Just add it to the end here
Can-
and let
can-
them decide. Go
Well,
ahead.
could you add a 374?
We could do that too.
So that way it's just add a 374 and put in some language?
Well,
There-
if we
That's
were
an
gonna-
idea too.
Yeah.
If you're gonna add.
Just to give, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Noreen,
no, that's
but
all
just,
right.
just to kind of give them, this is where we think it
Right.
could be.
Right, but,
And,
yeah. If we were gonna add it in, I don't know why we would add it into prohibitions. I'm thinking that ideologically.
That's a good point.
That's a good point, too.
It would be better if we're gonna add it in, to put it into 3.6, wherever it
I
is.
don't
That's
know.
powers of
Maybe
appointment.
not.
No,
Oh, that's appointment.
that's powers of
Okay,
appointment.
well, someplace else.
Well, because section 1 is just the board, the select board has
Right.
5 members, overlapping terms, blah, blah, blah. Section 2 is leadership responsibilities, that they have the power to run the town, etc. Section 3, general duties, power to enact rules and regulations not otherwise governed by general law, this charter or bylaw, da. Power 4 is investigations.
Yeah.
Section 5 is specific powers, duties, and responsibilities. Recognizes head of the government, licensing authority, one or more members to sign warrants. Section 6 is powers of appointment. 7 is prohibition. I agree with whoever said they don't think it should go in prohibitions.
How about chapter 4, and we put it under the list, section 3 of duties of the town administrator?
I would disagree,
Okay,
Because we're trying to get the
because we're
select board
trying to
right.
get the select board in there.
okay.
The only reason I mentioned doing a 374 was because you were going to amend 371. So that was the only reason I was going in that.
This was just
I
putting
know.
words down to
Down.
see if they're, to have something to
Something.
talk about. I'm not sure I like it being in prohibitions at this point.
Correct.
Because prohibitions mean you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah, but you can't put it under
But
town administrator.
I'm going to go back on that. If we put it in some section that says, this says prohibitions 371, you got to go through the town administrator, period. I'm going to go back now and say, maybe it does belong in prohibitions, except for the HR director who will report to both.
Right.
Maybe it
Maybe
should be
that's where,
both.
but somehow the prohibitions, because you wouldn't want to leave 371 alone.
Right.
And then have 374 there, because now there's a direct conflict, and then you got the lawyers
No.
farting around. What about as part of 323? The select board shall serve as chief policy-making agency, and as such, shall not normally administer day-to-day affairs of the town, but shall instead regularly direct town administrator, blah, 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 blah,
And
blah.
helping and caring, I like it there.
How about in there?
Administrative duty, make recommendations to the town.
Where are you?
Would you put it under
Three-
323, or would you do
323.
324?
Make a separate 324.
Make them separate 324.
The human resource, the
This is going to be a department head, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it'll have a couple of chooches with it, you know,
Well,
so we haven't seen the
okay.
end of the money.
What about, we have a town administrative organization, chapter 5,
Yep,
that outlines the division of finance, division of public works, police department, fire department, planning department, and human resources department.
but none of these say to whom anybody
They report, there are
reports.
no reporting responsibilities as part of that.
You could add them, and you could add it in here, and then,
Well, that is covered,
but-
in-
and
that is
then put
covered
it in both
oth-
places?
In other places.
But I think you want to say it very specifically, under the select board, as opposed to, because this whole chapter,
so getting back to, you know, it would be under planning department, fire department, police department. Is that what you're thinking, Sandy?
Well, I'm looking at the whole town administrative
that's not a
organization.
department though at this point.
But
And this whole administrative organization, I think, needs to be completely rewritten.
So would you
because
put it as
It's not a department.
When you,
It's a
in
person.
chapter 5,
You know, we had,
But you could have multiple people in this just not one person. This one person could have
but I
this.
think all these I think this whole thing needs to be rewritten,
Okay.
because we've got
I'm
a
just trying
fire.
to think of something to put it in two places.
can I get a
Because-
word in here?
I'm
Sure.
sorry.
Chapter 5, town
Five.
administrative organization.
Where are you?
All circles back, and all
C10.
of these
Page
various
C10.
responsibilities all, it's in there that they talk about the town administrator reporting to.
Except finance is in there. I know.
See, under the duties of the town administrator in 4, section 3, responsible for administrating and coordinating all employees' activities and departments placed under the control of the select board and of the town administrator. That almost implies, what you have is you have
What page are you on, sorry?
C7 at the top.
Okay.
That implies that, so that the town administrator is over everything, with the exception of the library and water wastewater. But leave those two aside.
Yeah.
H?
H,
Under H?
under H.
The absence-
431.
Right.
In the absence of a personnel director, it just says enforce and do stuff.
That would have to be stricken if we hire an HR. Right?
I think there's been a few good suggestions, and this is draft. So I think perhaps some language could be written in draft form, and it be suggested that it could go here or there.
Okay.
Well, I just,
That's
What
on
about
the-
replacing H? Because
H,
if you hire, yep, duties of the town administrator, section H, and we're at 432. If you get a personnel director, you no longer need a provision that says in the absence of.
Right.
So if you drop in there that the language that says appoint a personnel director who shall report to both the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator.
I think that's still ugly.
I kind of like that one.
But the thing is
Why
that,
is it ugly, Linda?
but I also think that, I mean, it should have said the same thing in other departments, because if there is no, say there's no town accountant, then you wouldn't,
Oh, sorry about that.
we don't have a phrasing in here that says, in the absence of the town accountant, the town administrator shall be responsible for making sure all the financial stuff gets done. If we're gonna, so we hire a town, we don't have that wording in here. We don't have, if we don't have an assessor, then the town, in the absence of an assessor, the town administrator is supposed to be making sure all this stuff gets done. We don't have that. I think this was in here just to say, if we never hired a personnel director, and we're not hiring a personnel director, the town administrator, keeping it clear that they're the ones responsible for the personnel system, so they hire someone, they're still responsible for it.
Right.
I'm going to go back to my suggestions that we stick to drafts for that reason. Because if this is, I hate to call it that, but a somewhat broken document, there's no way to fix this without saying the things that you've just said. Well, finance director doesn't say that it reports to this. This one doesn't say that. This
Right.
one doesn't. So we can't fix it without fixing the whole,
Agreed.
a part of the whole.
Which
So
drives me back to Board of Selectmen
That's right, and
chapter.
that's the key here, because right now the town administrator oversees personnel. But we're trying to add in that the Board of Selectmen be part of that process.
Be a-
So
that-
I think it belongs in the Board of Selectmen.
I think it
section.
makes it clearer,
Right.
because if whether we had a personnel director or not, you know, in the absence of any employee, the head of the organization is the throat to choke on all this stuff.
Right,
I mean, if
right.
all the department heads came down with COVID, and Joe was the only one left standing, excuse me, town administrator was the only one left standing,
Right.
town administrator would be running around from department to department trying to keep everything going
Oh,
until
sure.
everybody came back
Right,
to work.
Right.
So the town administrator is the throat to choke. We're trying to put in here that it's the select board
Right.
and the town administrator are
Distribute
going to be
that,
over
yes.
this.
Yes.
Because it has to say direct report.
Yes.
So I'm going back to Board of Selectmen. And I don't know, it doesn't belong, I like the 324. Policy, it's not a policy, but
It is a responsibility.
it is
Or it is
it's becoming a
responsibility.
responsibility, a leadership responsibility.
Yes.
And do you mean also to put a note in prohibitions so that they won't conflict?
Well, that's why it drives you back to prohibitions too. But I think it belongs under select board
Main, right.
as a main as opposed to anywhere else.
Just adding in prohibitions except human resources director.
And then-
Which will report to both select board and town administrator. Because the prohibition paragraph 371 says can only go through the town administrator.
Right.
That's probably the place where you want to have the exception.
Right.
So then I'd go on to say, under town administrator, remove H.
What if why?
Well, because there'd be no personnel, there's a personnel.
Well, if the personnel director was absent, then it becomes Joe, so you can leave that in, I mean, it becomes
Okay.
the town administrators, excuse me.
Right.
Okay.
So you
So you'd
can
have
leave
to
that in
change the
there.
wording in there.
You'd have to
though.
change a bunch of
Ju-
wording.
You'd just have to change the wording.
Because
Okay.
actually, the wording should have been,
In the
town
act.
administrator is responsible for the day-to-day administration. If the
Yes,
town administrator gets the authority to hire somebody to do that,
right.
then that person does it, but the overall responsibility, that throat to choke is still the TA.
Right, okay.
I'm not sure we start putzing with that.
Well, I was going to say H, it would be in the absence of the personnel director, not a, because now we have one. But,
And
Right.
yet it's the same
Well, that's why I
thing.
was, play on words.
yep,
Okay.
That's, so, can we get back to where to
That
put
would have to
this?
be changed.
Well, you
I mean, I think clarifying the prohibitions paragraph puts both pieces in the same place. Because otherwise, somebody's saying, well, this does this, well, this does that. And
Yep.
put it in the same place, maybe.
All right, so you're saying adding a 374.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying 371.
Right. I liked it the way we talked about it a little bit ago, where it says,
Adding
with
it
the
into
exception of
371.
human resources director, your middle section, but not all of the positions.
Yeah.
And I think that covers it for the prohibition section, just that couple of words.
Okay.
So you're gonna change the prohibition, 371?
Yep.
You're gonna add a little bit of language there.
Yeah.
So adding language after officers and employees, publicly or privately, comma,
With the exception
with the
of-
exception of the a human resource director who will report to both select board and town administrator.
I think that covers it.
I think that gets
And
it.
if they don't like it, they can change it.
Yeah,
But we'll just
I think it's excellent for draft. I mean, because we haven't had a lot of dialogue from them on. The other problem is that I saw in the budget that the salary was listed at 100,000, and there was discussion last year about, oh no, if it was going to report to the select board, it had to be $1 million or something, you know. but-
Right. And I'm not sure I agree with that either.
Right, but you know what I'm saying, so we don't really know there's a lot we don't know.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I think that's a bottom line here.
Yes, yep.
So,
It's not terrible.
No, it's not
no,
really.
and I
And I
think,
don't think we can do much better than not
No.
terrible.
I think you're probably right,
I
Sandy.
think it's
with
wasted
this.
time.
Yeah.
I like the fall part.
Well, I
Well-
think we should do both.
Yeah,
I think we should say that this is not ripe for charter language because it affects, as a practical matter, it affects several parts of the charter. And it should require more time and more thought, but if you insist on doing so, if you must, in the meantime,
This is what
this
you
is
can
what
do.
we recommend,
right.
and having it in the fall will not delay it any further anyway. It will have,
Right.
it'll be a no harm.
Because even if they decided, because there are two ways to change the charter. which is, one is you go for home rule petition directly to Boston, or you have a ballot. Even if they did a home rule petition,
It's still going to be a year.
it's still going to be a year because it has to go here, it has to go there. They have to look at it, make sure it's all okay, then it comes back. It's still going to be a year.
And the
This is
fact-
not going to be in place
They're
if
not-
we hire somebody July 1st.
Yeah, they're not going to wait until this language is in place to hire a human resources
no.
director. And it's possible that in the course of the first several months of such person being on board, it might all become very clear how it should be handled. Because this is new.
But at least it's taken a step.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we can do what we can do, but I
Right.
think that
Right.
trying to shoehorn it into places where it may or may not belong, and this at least covers that much of it.
Yeah, because I think all the comments of, well, then this section should change, or that section should change.
I also do think, if we're at it, and we want to really just kind of go for broke, I would like to be able to add that last line that you put in there, Linda, because
What's that?
the select board shall be able to communicate with and request information from any department head.
See, that to me
Because
is the
this is-
more global change.
Well, this is where the information desert has occurred.
Yes.
Is suddenly we can't get our committees, select board can't get information, the committees can't get information. Somewhere in this charter, at some point, there should be a provision to say that, yes, committees can sit down and talk to staff at meetings in order to discuss policies and information, and they can access the information they want, because what's happening now is they're being cut off from information.
How about if 371, if we give them that wording as well, to give them and except for purposes of investigation, the select board shall not generally give orders or directions to officers' employees.
Shall not
so-
generally? Yeah, okay.
So not generally. The select board shall be able to communicate with and request information from any department head.
I'm going to say I don't totally agree with that, and I don't think it's a decision that we have to make tonight, having worked in the government for so many years and having so many commissioners and politicians and everybody
We're
else.
talking about the select board, not the individual select men.
Right.
So if the select board at a public meeting, or the select board wants to request information from a department head,
They should be able to do
they
it.
should be able to vote to do that. It still should be anybody's right to go to any department and ask for any information that they have, without having to do a Freedom of Information request. Or be told that if they want to get a Freedom of Information request, they have to resign
Okay,
from the
so-
committee.
Let's say you run the, what was our department, our turtle watching department?
the turtle
we had
watching
for a while,
department.
yeah. So you run a turtle watching department.
Yeah, things have been
And
slow lately.
I'm a select board member.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go to you and say, okay, listen,
This says the select board,
The
not
select-
a member
but
of
she
the
just
select.
said a member. Okay, that's all right. What are we talking about? A member or a board? Doesn't matter.
Well, we're
the whole
talking about a
board.
board here.
What?
We're talking about the board
Okay.
here.
So if a meeting, a Monday meeting comes up and somebody makes a motion to say, I want to find out the name of every single turtle that's been through this system in the last 50 years, and then they vote and it's a positive vote, and that wipes out your schedule as the
Because you gotta find the turtles.
department head, as the department head of turtle watching. So now you are wiped out. You can't do your normal turtle business. And see, I think we're reacting to a situation that's extreme. I do believe a town administrator needs to be in part of the process of managing his staff. And I don't think another body should be able to come in and say, we don't care what you had planned for her for this year. We're voting this.
Well, but on an overall basis, the select board is the hiring entity of the town administrator. And I know that in all the jobs I had, I was not in the municipal end, I was in business, And I can tell you, if one of the if the board of directors walked into my office and said, I want you, as head of the turtle division, to give me 50 years worth, you can bet I would say, yes, sir.
No, not in my life. In my life,
No.
I would have to say, I'm sorry, but.
You were in the government.
That's right.
Okay, you were in the government. I said I was in business.
Business.
In business, it would be, you bet.
Well, I was in both, actually, half and half, so,
Well, over these many years, it was always possible for any individual to walk up to somebody's department and request some kind of information. And I don't think that there have been many instances where that's been a huge problem. Now even the committees are being cut off
I agree with
from
you.
gathering the information
I'm
they
not
want
disagreeing.
from the people on staff related to their committees. So at some point, I think there needs to be some provision that says, yes, a committee can ask the staff to come to a meeting and provide information, financial information about, oh, I don't know, golf fees, for
Yeah,
example.
I'm not
Anything.
disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there has to be balances and checks.
Of course.
This town has gone this way, so we're reacting to that. But in a normal world, I don't think it's okay for a non-supervisor to be able to come in and direct people's work.
Well, there's-
Actually,
that's-
it does happen, because in the more the business world, that does happen.
Well, if you allow it to happen, it
Oh,
will happen. I worked in a world.
It'll
where-
happen regardless whether
Well,
you want it
regardless
to
of
happen
what-
or not.
Regardless
Well, I
of-
worked myself also, and so it doesn't
Regardless
always
of what world anybody has lived in, when you are given the job of overseeing as a committee, making recommendations to the select board, and you have to do it without sufficient information, then the whole system clogs up. So at some point, it's something we should talk about. I think we need to get on with what we're doing here
Yeah.
tonight and make a decision about this and go home.
Well, let me just ask one thing. What's the difference between any given Monday night and, let's say, I guess golf was there recently, recreation was there, and some selectmen says, as they often do, could I get more information on that? And they say, sure, I'll email it to you. Or they say, yeah, I'll have that for you, it'll be in the next packet. And that goes on all the time, too. And
That's fine.
so
But
it's
that's
not like that never happens, you know what I mean?
This is true.
You know.
No, but committees are being told that they can't expect the staff that's involved with the work that they're supposed to be doing to show up and provide them with information.
I think
That's
that,
where,
con-
that's where the problem is.
and
Oh,
that
you mean with the department
conversation
head? Oh,
with anybody. Well,
With anybody.
that's why that will come under appointed town agencies, chapter 7. That's a discussion for there.
Right.
What words do you put in there that, yes, they do get to ask
Yeah.
questions?
But we are getting off topic.
But we are off topic, considerably
good
off topic.
Could I-
So, back to 371.
Okay, go ahead. Finish that.
Do we want to, we've said 371, with the exception of an HR direct, human resource director, who will report to both select board and town administrator.
Period.
But there's also the second 371,
Down at the bottom.
which is the second one, which was a somewhat rewrite, except for the purpose of investigation, the select board shall not generally
Yes.
give orders or direction, blah, blah, blah. The select board shall be able to communicate with and request information from any department head. Because technically, at the select board meetings, they're supposed to be saying,
Joe.
town
right.
town
Yeah.
administrator, I would
Right.
like more information on blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think if we put this in, but it's a draft, it's not, you know,
It's
a
draft.
big deal. But I think if we put this in, we're going beyond the bounds of what you were asked to do. Because nobody in the discussion ever said, and by the way, while you're crafting language to enter to both, throw in
Think about this.
that, you know, I mean, nobody ever said that.
But you know what?
Yeah, that's all right.
Faint of heart never made it anywhere.
That's fine.
And if
That's
we don't
fine.
start being,
Yep.
I'm not going to say aggressive, but we need to add value. Otherwise, we'll just sit here like little donkeys nodding our heads.
One man's treasure
You got it. Are we okay with the whole changing section 371,
Yes,
which is a general change, and give them both?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Are you giving a 371 with just the accept?
Yes.
And another version that had?
Yeah.
Oh, good, I'm in then, thank you.
Got it?
Do
Are we there?
Yeah.
Do we need to vote?
Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah,
No.
let's,
The
Well, do
list,
we?
Yeah.
yes.
That's,
Okay.
Okay,
motion is to, for
We
the
don't
changes,
even
that
have any.
the agreed upon changes to the, in response to the request of the Board of Selectmen, along with our recommendation that this whole discussion should be put on hold until a fall town meeting.
okay,
Second.
wait,
Yep.
I'm gonna make sure she's writing, she's writing as
Um,
fast as she can.
And to delay,
Don't make me repeat myself.
no, to delay until fall town meeting, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
And make
No, I
note
can-
of the fact that that will not alter the date that the town voters will have to vote on it. It will not delay the vote because it would be the same vote somehow.
I'll put that into my,
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
I'll put that
yeah,
into the
okay,
letter.
So this
Okay.
is the motion. Okay.
and I had a second here.
Okay,
That's
Noreen's,
a discussion.
Okay, but
So-
second, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that motion, did it include just the human resource business, or did it include the report as a whole that we turned in before? I think it should probably.
No,
no, we're all done
no,
with that.
this is, we're doing this is the only thing we're
particular
doing.
one.
We already turned
We
in
already
that
turned in a report,
That's-
we already discussed it with them, so that's, we're now gonna march on to the next sections.
Yes, we're not the Historical Society.
Okay,
Although-
Not what?
We're not the Historical Society.
Okay.
Oh, well, maybe we are.
I think we are.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
What a good job we do.
Oy.
Okay.
I need clarification
Yes,
before we
ma'am.
move on. Jeff came in and said that Fogg is going to be there on Monday.
Yes.
Are we still invited?
I think we're invited, but it's not a joint meeting.
Okay,
What
all
I
right,
will do
okay.
is I will post a meeting. I will
So,
post a
in
meeting,
case everybody wants to show up.
just in case we're all there and we don't get into quibbling. So I will post,
I got the impression that, lately, not everybody is invited to speak on each topic, and
I don't wait to be invited.
Hang on, I got the impression
No, you don't.
that that would be our position on Monday, that we would go and listen. That's just
Right,
between the
right.
lines.
A listening tour.
But we should post a meeting if we're all, if more than three of us, at least three of us are in the room. Okay, so this is posting for that's the 27th?
Do you need to know who's going to be there before you go ahead and post?
Well,
You're
this,
just going to do it
I don't even know
anyway?
I don't even know what fog is coming.
I personally, I don't think it needs posting because.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
No?
it's a very general topic. I know nothing about it, so,
Would you give me authorization to stand up and speak for the committee?
So moved.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But I know that in other times, well, that's because the
Well, they
committee
like-
hadn't made a
discussing.
decision. They were
They-
trying to discuss.
They like you, so they'll,
Yeah, and
Let
you're
you
always
speak.
very clear when you say whether we've discussed or not, so that
All
covers
right,
it
so I
for
won't
me.
have to post, but I will be there. Okay. Again, July, small meeting room,
Yep.
and we're going to have Anita on the hot seat for next meeting.
Hang on.
sounds like a plan.
Okay,
Okay, so you
So-
had items for future, but
yep.
I know we have Anita on the hot seat, but I just had another thought.
uh-oh.
I know.
You want to take my place?
No,
What do
thank
you
you.
got?
In the packets for the last 2 weeks have been the entire documentation of all of the petition articles. And maybe, I'm suggesting maybe we push off Anita as much as we like her and spend next meeting talking about the petition articles, which is something people might expect an opinion on from us.
Well,
That-
I'm going to suggest something different,
Okay?
which is I think we need to have a second meeting in early March,
Mhm.
under the understanding that on Friday, we are going to get all of the wording,
I know,
and therefore have that.
but we have it.
But it's supposed to come from
Bless
the
you.
town administrator to us.
I know, but we have it.
But if we wait till the middle of March, March 12th, that is way too late
Okay.
to be discussing. So my suggestion is going to be
An extra meeting.
an extra meeting. and then we can have wording, et cetera. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Can we dig out calendars and look at, because that would be, what's day, the 20th, not that week.
Let's see.
March 5th, which is the primary,
Oh,
That's
I
not
won't be
great.
there.
I won't be there.
okay? March 4th, which is Monday night.
Slow down, slow down, jeez.
And I could, and also the 6th, Wednesday.
I mean, I can do the 5th, so on the 5th,
But these two don't.
So it would be the three of you, if the three of you could meet.
Can't hear you, honey.
Yeah, the
Wait.
three of you could meet, that's a
That's all
quorum.
right.
Yeah.
We should have all of us here.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so.
You're not getting out of it that easily.
No, thank you, Sandy.
No, I won't be around Wednesday, so it has to be Monday. If we all want to meet. Is
Because
every,
Wednesday night, I have a library meeting at 7. So I could still do it, but is
Yeah, no.
Monday better for you?
for me, yes, but,
Monday, the 4th?
yeah.
Can you do it,
Now, could
Cindy?
I ask? is-
Wait,
All right.
wait a minute. Can we do the 4th? As we check calendars.
Okay.
Yeah. We can do the 4th.
Post, and the sole topic will be review bylaw charter articles for warrant.
Okay.
So you mean petition articles?
Articles, petition articles, yes, because it's a bylaw change. 2 of them are bylaw changes, not all of them. But 2 of them are, I think 2 of the 4 are bylaws.
I think, I forget, the pesticides and fertilizers, I don't think are,
But the other 2 are.
but the trees are.
Yeah, so there's,
But
so
there's
it's,
5, so there's another one in there,
but it's not a bylaw.
yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah,
the-
what's an advisory on the swimming pool?
Oh, yeah.
So
So it should be a quick meeting
bylaw
on the
charts.
4th.
So it's gonna be the trees,
And it should be any other bylaw or charter changes.
That comes up.
They should be sending us back any other charter changes.
They meaning who? Town
Select
administrator?
board.
The select board.
These are supposed
Would
to
it
come from
be-
the town administrator
Right.
14
Would it be-
days
Would
later.
it be fair to suggest with this letter that we're sending in that all the proposed charter changes should wait until the fall?
I don't even
I
know
don't-
what
I
other
don't-
ones there are yet.
Well, the things that we recommended, we don't know whether they're going to take any of them up or not.
I've heard other departments mention charter changes. Can't remember who right now, but in watching the meetings, I've heard people say, can we get a charter change on that? I mean, I don't know, are they working independently, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Or if even they fully understand what they're asking
Right.
for.
Yeah,
Well, whatever, but
yeah,
it just
either way.
would seem that
But I agree with you.
it would be better,
I like the fall idea for
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Well, but that's not in our control.
No.
no, but just, it could just be a recommendation, that's all I'm suggesting.
That petition one, the 5th one,
Is to add into the Affordable Housing Trust, not
Oh,
just
that's right.
affordable, but attainable. And I would like to have, and I'm just waiting for a definition of attainable, because just like workforce housing doesn't have a legal definition, affordable does, but all the rest of this.
Where is that coming from, the Housing Trust or the Board of
that's
Selectmen?
I believe Mr. McManus put
Right.
that one in.
Oh,
so that's
To
not,
put attainable into the
yeah.
bylaws of the trust
So
itself.
that's the trust document, it's not a charter change.
Yeah, that's not, so we wouldn't see that anyways.
All right, so I take back what I said about having a meeting on the petition articles with only the trees.
Right, well, it's whatever is a bylaw
Right.
or charter change.
So can we take it all up on the 12th?
too late, Linda
It's
thinks.
too late.
You think so?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because if we're gonna have petition, if we're gonna have bylaw charter change,
Oh, before they
But-
sign the warrant?
do we want to have Patrick come in? Because he did come in and gave us some information. Do we want to invite Patrick Otten, who, those 2 bylaw changes are his?
What two?
Okay.
The trees
Trees and the
and
pesticides.
That'd be trees and
No, they're
pesticides.
zoning, they're zoning, trees only, I believe.
It says bylaw changes. They're,
Where's it say? I don't know what you're reading.
oh, okay, oh, I'm reading my own hand scratching. But his are bylaws. So therefore, do we want to invite the person in to discuss their bylaw,
Their zoning bylaws, I understand that.
their bylaws?
But
The
we
tree,
made a
the
big
tree,
deal
the
about.
trees, I believe, are going in as a general bylaw.
That's right.
Yes.
Trees, we
Yeah.
got trees. But I don't think we should touch the others because we made a big deal last year about saying we don't go near zoning bylaws.
No, we don't do zoning.
But the thing is, that's not what the charter says. If it's a zoning bylaw, it's a bylaw.
Then why
the
did we make
charter
such
do-
a big deal?
I have no idea
Because
why
we-
the big deal was made.
We have no expertise for zoning.
Right. no,
We
I-
may pass on reviewing something, but it still should all come here, because the charter doesn't say bylaws except for zoning. It says bylaws.
The only thing that we could do, if we got a zoning bylaw, is to make sure that it fits
With the charter.
with the, right, or
With
fits in the
bylaws.
bylaws.
Properly numbered, yada,
Properly
yada.
numbered.
Yeah, well, there is
exactly
that.
where
And
it
and
is.
it doesn't conflict with some other bylaw. You know, everybody
That's-
should have a chicken in the backyard, but we already have a bylaw that says everybody should have a duck.
Yeah, because it's always good to have a double check
How
Yeah.
about
on
turtles?
those things.
How about turtles?
Oh, yeah, your
That's a
turtles.
different
That's
bylaw.
right. Thank you.
Different bylaw. So, I'm going back to my question. Do we want to, assuming that we will have information on Friday, on the 4th, invite the the person who is sponsoring the bylaw/charter change to come in?
I'm gonna, my.
Yes or no?
My opinion is no, because they cannot change their articles anymore. They've passed the deadline. So, I mean, what is the point for them to convince us?
We've already had a full explanation about what it's
Right.
going to be.
So, we're okay with him.
Yeah.
What about any others? What if there is another bylaw change? Do we want that person in here?
If it's one we don't know about.
Why
we don't- if we
why
don't-
don't we
so-
leave that up to the discretion of the chair?
Yeah. I
Thanks
like
a
that.
lot.
Yeah, you're the boss.
All right, so we'll take care of that. All right.
It
So we
should be an
post for
easy-
3-4
easy decision.
bylaw charter change articles for the warrant.
One more question?
Yes.
So what if there aren't any other bylaw changes of any sort? What if it's just the general bylaw for trees and the 2 zoning bylaws for pesticides and fertilizers?
Yeah.
So then,
We could have our whole meeting on the 4th and not meet on the 12th.
I'm saying maybe we should be flexible.
Well, we
Well-
can always cancel a meeting. If we
Can always
decide, if we have a
cancel a
meeting on the
meeting,
4th, we can just say, we've
don't
done
need
what
to
we
meet
can
them on the
do.
12th.
I'm trying to get to,
Okay.
we need to get something back to the select board so they can sign warrants. And if we're supposed to review something, we have to tell them whether or not it fits.
Gotcha. So Anita's still on the hot seat?
For the 12th.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
we decide we don't need it.
And we will deal with that if we decide that either we have a regular meeting or we move to April. But
You decide. You've
Yeah.
got 2 dates open to you. You can do whatever you want with them.
That's right.
And I will,
I know you will.
So that's March 4th at 5 o'clock.
yes. Which means that I need to get over to, well, there shouldn't be anybody here because everybody's in that room.
Exactly, that's true.
All right, I will see if I can get room.
Get a room,
Get a room.
get a room,
Get a room.
get a room.
I can do that tomorrow morning.
Would, if need be, would it be possible to move it to 4 o'clock for everybody if we had a conflict with this room?
I can do
4 o'clock is fine.
Can you do? Yeah.
Well, why don't we just do
Me
4?
three.
Can you do 4, Linda?
Yeah, we can do
Okay.
4.
So
Four-
we're making that 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock on Monday, yeah.
Made by me.
That sounds
Yeah, I
good.
can do
Yeah,
that.
it does sound good.
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, anything else for this meeting? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye,
It-
6:31.
Really?
aye. Yep.
And if you would turn that silly machine off.
Which, by the way, is being replaced tomorrow, right?
Yes, I heard that it's being replaced, which is great.
So that was its last,
That was its last gasp.
yeah.
And clearly